Hello everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Z.I.P Talks. Today we are with the Palm Harbor University High School Robotics Club, and we will be discussing their engineering design process. Before we start, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Mohil. I'm a programmer, and I'm the outreach lead on FTC Team 1629 Z.I.P Ties. Hello everyone. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Ankita, and I'm the business lead on our team. I do the notebook, and this is my fourth year in FTC and my eighth year in FIRST.
Hello, I'm Devneet. This is my fourth year in Team Z.I.P Ties, and I'm the build lead.
Hi, my name is Thomas Brown. I'm the club president of Palm Harbor University High School Robotics, and I'm currently the lead programmer for Team 506 Pandaras. This is my fourth year in FTC.
Hello, my name is Ryan. I'm the vice president of Palm Harbor University High School Robotics. I'm team captain of Team 516 Gears of Fire, and this is my fourth year in FTC.
Hi, my name is Marcin. I'm the build lead for 3101 Boombots, and this is my fourth year in FTC.
Hi, my name is Rocco. I am the team captain and lead builder of Team 506 Pandara, and this is my third year in the First Tech Challenge.
Okay. Now that we've introduced ourselves, let's start off by talking about the Palm Harbor University High School Robotics Club and what you guys do.
All right, I'll kind of answer that a little bit. So our club's been in existence for probably 10 to 15 years, so it's been at the school for a while. As of right now, we have 5 teams housed at our school. Team 506 Pandaras, Team 516 Gears of Fire, Team 3101 Boombots, Team 3830 Violet Fusion, and Team 3839 Mechanical Geniuses. So we got a lot of people at our club. I think we have over 75 members. So when people kind of think of our club, it's not really individual teams. It's more of we're all work together as a club. We're all PHUHS Robotics, although we do split into separate teams. And how our club kind of works is, just like every other team, there are lead programmers, there are lead builders, there are lead CAD, lead notebook, and then each team has their own team captain. And then to run the club as a whole, people in charge of all 5 teams, we have our own board consisting of president, vice president, secretary, a treasurer, and a social media coordinator. So we have a lot of people in the club, and it takes a lot of overreach and a lot of paperwork and forms to fill out and all that. But it's a pretty fun job. We all kind of work together. Do you have specific questions about the club we can answer? Or?
Well, like you were saying, how there's so many people, and it's probably a lot. That's a lot of teams you have to. How do you guys keep it so organized?
That's a great question. So we really retain members over the 4 years. I myself have been here every year, all 4 years of high school. Same thing with Ryan, same thing with Marcin, and this is Rocco's a junior, but every year he's joining robotics. So we have a lot of senior members, but we also get every year a lot of new members. So pretty much how we split people into teams is everyone joins PHUHS Robotics. They don't join a specific team at the start of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is board gets together and we split everyone into 5 teams. So we did this about a month ago, and what we try to do is balance both senior members and not freshmen, but new members for robotics. People with little to no experience with FTC. They might be good with programming, but they don't know what First Tech Challenge is.
Mm-hmm.
So we did this earlier in the year, and that's why you'll never really see a team full of strictly senior members. We try to avoid that as much as possible. And each team has a senior builder or senior programmer, and you can kind of see that. Marcin is a senior, and he's great at building, and so is Ryan, but they're on separate teams. We didn't put them together, of course. And even though I was on 3101 last year, I was a lead programmer. 506, Rocco's team needed a programmer this year, so I moved over. So we try not to identify ourselves with just one team for all 4 years. We kind of go where we're needed. And I've this is the third team I've been on, and I was 506 freshman year. I was 38-30 sophomore year. I was 31-1 last year. Now I'm back to 506. So, everyone in the club, we don't really identify ourselves by teams as much. It's more of PHUHS Robotics. That's one of the nice things about the club, and it's just because we have so many members. Everybody interacts with each other.
So, I have a question for you guys. Talk about how you have so many members. How did you get them? Because like a ton of new teams struggle to get more members.
Well, we do a lot of outreach within our school. I mean, granted, our school that we go to, Palm Harbor University High School, has a lot of people there. I think over 2,000 students. So we've got a huge population to pick from. But we do a lot of outreach. Before the school year started, there were some freshman orientations. The Palm Harbor, we had a Palm Harbor let a bunch of clubs from the school come out, and the freshmen or new students that were about to join for the school year could come look at each club. We were there demoing robots for freshmen, and we got people to sign up. And you're like, hey, give us your email. Once we get ready, once we get started, we'll send you an email saying with our first meeting date. And we also put posters up around the school when we went to a football game and demoed our robot there. So we do a lot of outreach in the school. And if you're your team operating out of a high school, I would highly recommend that if you're looking for new members. I mean, get involved with other activities in your high school. Try to interact with other students around you. Put up posters. I don't know if you have football games or club events at your school. Honestly, that outreach is so important if you want to keep a team alive.
Yeah. And then going back, you said that you guys split up each team based off the seniors and the freshmen. So when it comes to the new season has been released, and now it's time to make a robot. Do you guys try and get inspiration from each other? Like, let's just say Boombox had this one idea, but they disregarded it. But Pandera's like, wait a minute, we can fix this idea. How does that go, and how does that work?
I think I can answer that. In general, the teams keep sort of their designs sort of private, so we don't end up with 4 of the same robot. We want some sort of innovation, some sort of each team comes up with their own ideas, so it's not just a freshman team following along, copying all of the ideas. But we have a sort of hierarchy that no one's can't ask questions. Everyone's open to help out other teams. And if someone comes up asking about design help or asking about how they should solve this problem, then everyone else is open to suggestions and helping them design that part. But yeah, in general, we try to keep it separate, but it's not strictly prohibited.
Yeah. Different ideas, but if someone's struggling, senior members are more than happy to help. If we weren't able to give every team a senior programmer this year, so we've been doing a lot of mentoring. I've been running a programming class within the club for all teams. So we try to spread out the help, but we also want people to be creative on their own. So, we'll teach them the basics, and then they go off from there. They create their own designs. It's like that for a programming class. We teach them basics of Java. We teach them how to make their own hardware class and autonomous, but we're not going to let them look at our fully complete autonomous program. No, they got to come up with their own ideas. They have to come up with their own steps for autonomous. But, if they have any questions about the individual lines of code, hey, this isn't compiling, is there an error here? I'm more than happy to look at it and help them out. Same thing with billing.
So each team is separate and each team is separate in their own ways, and then you have the board to distribute who's what member goes where. Does the board also have the control over the money, or is it grants and everything, or is it each team goes and gets a certain amount of money that from the school?
Well, so we're not funded at all by our school, which is a little funny. They give us a workshop room to work in Wednesdays and Fridays, and a computer lab, which we're very thankful for. But we don't get any money per se from the school. What we have is people pay dues at the start of the year to join the club, and we get money from that, and we do also have money from previous years, and then we also get money from TBTA, Tampa Bay Tech Alliance. So we kind of have money from there and from dues. So we're able to pull from that, and we use that money, to buy parts or to fund trips. But Ryan, did you do any fundraising for your MTI trip?
Yeah, so our MTI trip was not school related at all. So because of that, our club had to kind of branch out elsewhere. So what we ended up doing is we ended up reaching out to a YouTuber. I don't know if you've heard of him, Jeremy Fielding. He has around like 400,000 subscribers, and what he was able to do for us is basically fund the rest of the money that we needed in order to pay for flights to MTI. So that was like a kind of like a different way of doing things than we were used to, but yeah. And then another thing to add is our our county does sponsor some of our teams. So 38 or 516, 506, and 3101, we were sponsored by Pinellas County Schools.
No.
Oh wait, no. Raytheon sponsored 516, 506, and 3101. Their registration for first, and then the other two teams, 3830 and 3839, were sponsored by our Pinellas County Schools. So they do pitch in a little bit, which we're very thankful for. But yeah, so most of our money does come from dues from individual members.
And also, individual members do fundraising or teams do fundraising. Rocco did some fundraising himself. Do you want to talk about that?
So yeah, one thing that we like to focus on through fundraising is we like to branch out and talk to companies and their leaders within their companies, and we like to tell them about our club, tell them what we're doing, and oftentimes what they're doing is sort of like what we're doing, but just on a much bigger scale.
Mm-hmm.
We went to this, and we've been to many different companies. We went to a CNC company, we went to a machine making company, and a lot of the principles that we learn in robotics are in the same fields as those companies. And so when they see us younger people in the engineering field looking to just make the world a better place, they want to support that, and yeah.
One thing I recommend if your team's trying to do fundraising is, definitely go out to companies in your area. And one thing that's, especially been cool for us is, going and doing demos at the company. Drive your robot around. If you're able to let the workers there build your robot, because that company that gets a personal connection with your team, and they're more willing, if you need money, that they're more willing to donate and donate in future years. Really building that personal connection with the companies is important, and not just company people in general. If you're looking for donors,
Yeah, and then another thing that we do is not all of our fundraising and kind of sponsors come through like directly money. What we also do is we kind of reach out to companies to CNC our parts. So because our club doesn't have a CNC machine, we kind of branch out to other suppliers of aluminum or CNC shops. So for example, Tampa Bay Steel, we've reached out to them the past 2 years to cut our CNC plates for our drivetrain. And so like those are like the type of resources that we kind of utilize in order to kind of reduce the costs so that the club basically doesn't go bankrupt, because like the primary goal is for the club to be sustainable and to have like a longevity.
Yeah, like I know we did that with Send Cut Send. They gave like a discount for us to like cut all our parts. And like some of our companies, like the way we give back to them is like going to like whenever they host like meetings, we'll like go and like demo our robot too. So like yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, so moving on. So how do you guys go through the design process? Do you guys like first build a demo robot, or like do you CAD and then continue building the robot? Because many teams like do it in different steps. What are your steps?
So I know for 516, we utilize a 7-step engineering design process, and we basically follow that throughout the year. So our first step would be strategizing and defining parameters. Our second step would be researching. And then our third step is like drawing and prototyping. So this is just like rough sketches. And then the fourth step is CADing. So we actually want to kind of visualize the robot and our ideas. And then the fifth step is after the CAD has basically been like designed and our ideas are set, is then we go into fabrication. And then after that, we go into testing and we reflect on that. And then we go into the iteration, so kind of iterating each individual subsystem of the robot, and then we basically repeat that process every year.
So back to your CAD. Which CAD software do you guys specifically use?
Yeah. So our teams at Palm Harbor, we are able to have an educational license for Autodesk. So the two softwares we use are Inventor and Fusion 360. My team uses Fusion 360, and I'm pretty sure Marcin, you use Inventor, right?
Well, I usually prefer Inventor, but recently, if it's Fusion's better for collaboration and everything. I just personally like how Inventor runs better, but Fusion 360 generally, in terms of collaboration, is better.
Yeah. So you're talking about your 7-step engineering design process, which I thought was really cool. Um, how so obviously sometimes these steps don't work. How do you guys get over those barriers and those difficulties? Like, what do you change in that process?
So yeah, sometimes it's not so much of like the steps not working themselves, it's more of like the time required for each step. So for example, last year, a lot of our time was wasted on the CADing step. So we really didn't, at the end of the year, we really didn't have that time to iterate our designs. So that was like a big flaw. So what we did after that is we decided to kind of use our engineering design process and kind of do it in substratas. So for each subsystem of the robot, for example, the drivetrain, we'd basically run the whole design process first, and then while, say, we completed the CAD of the drivetrain, one person would shift off the drivetrain and the whole CADing part of it and start manufacturing everything, while another person steps in and says, you know what, I'm going to start designing the lift. So that it's like it's a cumulative process instead of like going one by one individually and kind of wasting time.
Another thing that usually people get stuck up on is like your first part, which was strategizing. Because like this year itself, when we watched the video, we all had different opinions on like how to accomplish this year's challenge. So how do you guys like get over this obstacle?
Yeah, so because we're so fortunate of having like 15 and maybe in some cases even 18 members per team, we have a lot of ideas on how to strategize for each game. So basically, we like the start of the game, we all hop in a call for, and this continues throughout the week. But we basically, our primary goal the first week is to get the best strategy we can. And so what we do is we break down the scores, like the highest score we think we can get in each period. So autonomous, teleop, and endgame, and then we kind of average and we find an average of our cycle time. So say for this game, we need a cycle time, let's just say, of 4 seconds in order to fully max out our score. We we then go in order to accomplish this 4-second cycle, we design every single aspect of the robot so that it is able to accomplish this. And so that's basically how we target strategizing. We basically just go for that max score.
Yeah, and building off of what you were saying about strategizing, I know when it comes time to you've decided what you want to do. It might be sometimes hard on the robot to implement each of the things that you want, like maybe the 18 by 18 dimension requirement, or like the electronic side of it. How do you guys overcome that, and what do you guys do to try and avoid these problems?
So a lot of my teams, like one of our I guess our primary things that we try to accomplish each season is just reliability and consistency. So in order to like achieve this reliability and consistency, we have, I know ultimate goal season, we probably spent over 300 hours practicing with the robot. And so what that basically did is when we went to MTI, we were although we did not have the best robot design wise, like it was not as intricate as say Brainstem or Brainstormers. But what we had is we had that 300 hours of practice that made sure that our robot was not going to break. And if it did, it was a small fix. Like nothing major was going to happen that was going to affect our scoring throughout MTI. And so like the result of that would be us placing second overall, which was definitely not predicted by anyone.
Yeah, since you guys have like so many like members like on a team, and like in the beginning of the season, it's like definitely beginning of the season is definitely like robot, like because the robot game just got released. Like, how do you guys like distribute like each task to everyone and make sure like everyone's doing something, or like if like a majority is working on like the robot, like are the other people just like working on like outreach, the portfolio, and like how's that all like distributed within the team?
Well, how it kind of looks right now is, of course, board kind of we helped with the team captain elections, so that was pretty much the first thing we did. Teams choose their own team captains, and that was an election, and we got those all done, right before the game was announced. And then right after the game was announced, board got the whole club together. We played the video for everyone to see, and then it was pretty much we have a club mentor, Mr. Olson, and his rule was all the teams need to break up and you need to get into the design phase, and no one's building until you finish your design. So it was pretty much up to team captain's discretion at that point. And so every team, everyone was working together to build a design, and I think a lot of people are past that stage now, and we're really starting to get more into the building. And we can't really have everyone building, and we don't have everyone designing right now. So like I said earlier, it pretty much kind of looks like some members of teams are learning programming, some people are out there learning CAD, some people are doing building, and then some people are starting to build up their notebook, look into outreach events. So we start off, everyone's together, everyone's giving ideas for the design, and then once the team all kind of completely agrees on it, we all kind of split up and start working on our separate tasks. And that's just more of the tasks are separated by what people are interested in, or what people are want to do, or what they're good at. Rocco is a great builder, and so right now he's focusing on taking apart last year's Pandora robot and creating a new one for this year. And I'm a programmer, so what I'm doing right now is teaching a programming class and getting everyone, not just for my team, but for everyone in the club who's interested in programming. And we're doing that right now because there's not really much to program on the robot. So we want to learn first, and then once they're built, we can get into the programming. And then Ryan, a member of your team's teaching CAD, right?
Yeah, our team is teaching CAD. And then another thing I want to point out is something really cool we started doing is we do these workshops in the beginning of the year. So because we have so many freshman members, or not freshmen, but like new members, we basically set aside a week or two each year in the beginning of the season before the game comes out, and we set this period up for workshops. And what this does is this allows everyone to kind of get a chance to kind of dabble in each of the spheres. So CAD, hardware, software, notebook, and they kind of get a quick rundown and kind of get a hands-on experience with each one of the compartments of robotics. And so what they then do from there is that they kind of pick which ones, and these aren't like set in stone, but they kind of choose which ones that they want to pursue more in depth throughout the season, and then we kind of assign them to that specific team within the team itself.
And the teams, after the team captain elections, there were also teams chose a lead notebooker, and lead builder, lead CAD, lead programmer. I forgot to mention that earlier, and then the team captain, is either delegating it themselves, or they're, delegating tasks to the individual sub teams within their team to do all that stuff. And then kind of going back a little bit, those workshops, those are actually really important. And we had those kind of spearheaded by older senior members on the team. And it was less about, the 5 different teams, of more of, this is our robotics club, this is what we do in robotics. Because we weren't focusing on FTC as much, just more of, what is CAD, what is 3D design, and Ryan was kind of doing that. He was doing 3D design on his, or no, sorry, Ryan, but Ishi was on his team, was doing 3D design on a computer. And then I had some people, they were doing programming presentations. What is autonomous done? How do we do autonomous? What are encoders? What do they kind of do? And then there was a building part, and then there was a notebooking presentation. And we let people rotate around, so everybody got to visit each station, and people, new members, they decide if they want to join robotics, and then they decide what they want to focus towards. And what we try to really reinforce to everyone is, you don't have to stick to a specific team. You don't have to stick with building, or you don't have to stick with programming. You can do multiple things at once, or if you want to change your mind halfway through the year, feel free. Usually senior members don't do that, but it happens a lot with younger members. That they think that they want to do building, but then they realize it's not really for them, and they want to focus more on 3D design. Or we get a lot of programmers who are also doing stuff for Notebook, or especially a lot of builders who also do a lot of CAD stuff. So you got people doing everything.
Yeah. Similarly, like for our team specifically, we do something called Z.I.P training, where once we get a new member, we just like show them like Moho's programmer. So he took the two new members, like showing them programming, and then after like a day or two, they move on to the next part, like Ankita. She taught them about like Notebook and outreach. So that's what we do too.
Yeah, I think because like our team's like smaller, so we don't get like a bunch of new kids like
Yeah.
at once. It's like one new kid like a year, and like two new kids a year. So we just have it like 1 week they'll like shadow one lead person, and then next week they'll shadow a different one. And like after they shadow like each aspect, they can like choose, oh, what do they want to like mainly focus on. If they want to switch it up, they can switch it up, and like that's just how we like do it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to say something really quick. That's great. You guys getting new members. Olson, or our mentor, Mr. Olson, he's been in the FTC for a while, over 10 years, and what he says a lot. He sees a lot is you get school might have one team, and they have the same group of people every year, and then after 4 years the team dies, and that happens a lot. It happened to a couple teams in our league. So I would I think it's great you guys are getting new members every year. And Mr. Olson had a recommendation, that some teams, after 2 years, they should make a new team if they have a lot of interest. So that was just one thing I wanted to put out there.
Yeah. Definitely. So, you guys are telling us about how you guys do workshops, and how we were doing Z.I.P training. Another thing with Z.I.P training is let's just say Navneet and a couple of our new members that are interested in the engineering aspect. We have a couple outreach events coming up, and we need to design a new outreach robot for that. So, does your team believe in, especially when it comes to the engineering side of it, letting them freely explore or like designate a task for a specific skill they should develop?
Well, are you talking about outreach specifically? What we talk about in outreach, or
Like engineering wise?
do we? Oh, you mean with the team members themselves?
So what we do like to do is so how we had like, I guess a good analogy this year would just be like the beacon, or an example would be the beacon. So because that is not an essential part of the game, or not an essential, but like it's not as important, like it's not crucial. So because it's not as crucial as something like the drivetrain, we do tend to kind of allow the freshmen to kind of work together and kind of figure out something like that on their own, but before focusing on other parts of the robot and like iterations. So like I guess like a typical freshman year would be Sam in freshman year. My first like, I don't know, month or two would be tailored towards designing something smaller. And then as the season progresses, of course, they get more integrated into the team, and then they start participating in like the iteration of the actual robot itself.
Yeah. This year, like the past few weeks, I took the two new members. We're building a demo like robot for like outreach events. So like we don't have to take our main robot out. So it's like, that's what we do. We take
that's something like we do. But we also like give them, like I know one of our members was working on like one part of our robot like the other day. So like it like goes up in like steps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we have something similar. We have our own demo robot for outreach. I guess this is more programming, not really building, but we let people who are interested in programming, they can program the demo robot. They can try out the encoders on the robot, and we're gonna have one with a camera so they can kind of learn computer vision this year. So similar to what you were saying, just with programming. I think people who are interested in building more of work on the team's actual robot themselves.
And then also what we tend to do is because we do have 5 teams and we do have 5 robots, we tend to instead of tearing every robot apart, we do tend to keep a robot every season as an outreach robot. So like this season we kept 516 CRI robot, and then we also kept some of the other robots preserved just so we have them for outreach in the beginning of the season, because that's really important when you want to do demos, but when you don't have a robot it kind of becomes an issue.
Yeah. We do sort of the same thing. Like I think last year was the first time we started actually using Zen to start creating new custom drivetrains and new custom parts. So we've kept these drivetrains intact, and we show whenever we go to an outreach event, we show, oh, this is what we've designed and this is how we've used it. Like if you guys saw last year at the state championship, we had this drivetrain that had sort of or like an octagon side to each side, and then it had something in the middle. So we like to show our like sponsors and outreach events like, oh, this is how we're innovating and how we are like adapting to the challenge. So in that sense, or continuing on to about adapting, normally sometimes during the game manual or throughout the season, there's like a significant change to the game manual, or there's a new rule that's been made because so many things found something around it, and the judges don't, or like not the judges, but the game committee doesn't want that like route to be taken. So when it comes to adapting to like a new problem, how do you guys do that?
So, I guess for like adapting to a problem like that, because we have so many minds, it's not really that big of a like you saw us quiet because that's not really a big problem for us because we have so many minds working together that kind of gets done pretty quickly because we have so many ideas coming in from so many different perspectives. So we don't really find that an issue so much. But if anyone else wants to talk, yeah.
Yeah, Marcin, you kind of had we adapted a little bit the robot last year, like the arm and the intake, right? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, even during the season, we've changed different design aspects. Like we changed our drivetrain last year, modifying what we had at the beginning because we realized that, oh, this might not work as well as we intended. So like we've modified parts of things. Usually we tend to not rebuild from scratch because it's better to sort of tweak and fine tune something than just restarting over and over again. But that's just for like during competitions. But at the beginning of the year, I mean, the game changes every year. In general, I mean, things like drivetrain designs and stuff like that remain somewhat consistent. But I mean, like, in terms like the arms and everything, that's just every year it changes. So we have our base set of skill sets like, lifts, turntables, intakes, claws, and things like that. And then we base off of that sort of list to adapt to the new game and how we can use those technologies that we know and how we can adapt them to the new game.
It was also like last year we for 3101 spot, we had an original intake design idea, and then we went to the competition and it didn't work so well, so you changed it to the green wheels, which worked much better. So that was kind of adapting a little bit. That's what I was thinking.
And then, yeah, another thing we do is because we are a club and we do want to save money where we can, we kind of use subsystems from previous years and kind of tag them onto our years. So say like a scissor mechanism was built 2 years ago, some teams might want to incorporate that into their design. So instead of like adapting, we kind of piggyback off of that and then adapt of the design from previous years. So that kind of saves costs on our end.
Oh, like going off of that, like I know Rocco before was talking about how like you guys like take apart like your robot and you guys can like use that for other seasons too. Is that like what are other ways you guys make sure you guys aren't like overbuying parts for like a new robot per season?
So within our club, we have a pretty large inventory of parts that we can use, and we try. It's like Legos. Like you take what you have and you try to figure out what can you build with this inventory of parts, and from there, you build what you can, and if you really do need a part, then you need to order one. But because of that inventory you have, you can just kind of like set a limit to like how much you can build.
In general,
we also
with like
go ahead, yeah.
in general with like buying parts and everything, we have like a whole process. Basically, in general, like the board has control over the money and funding, and nothing is really just like a 1-2 person decision. It's everyone in the team has to agree, and then that goes up the hierarchy to the board, which then the board has to agree that you really need those parts. It's something we don't have, and you have a unique use for that, and then that's how it moves on.
It's a bit of a communal decision. The board gets together with team captains, and this happened a couple times last year. We asked teams, we're a couple weeks out from the competition. What do you guys need? And we'll make an order form. And then, we'd be looking at the items team submitted, and Mr. Olson, one of our adult mentors, would say, "Oh, we already have that in the club," or, "Oh, hey, I have that myself." So we were able to cut a cost there by not having to buy another one. We could find another one somewhere in the club. And then it's not just teams get whatever they want, flick at just clap their hands and they get whatever they want. It's a board vote. Everyone on board votes, and team captains from other teams vote, and we vote yes or no. Do we approve this order? And then we can go through the school and order the stuff. But yeah, there's multiple stages to it.
Yeah, definitely. We sort of have the same way of doing that. First, our engineering team, or let's just say, recently we sent out a order for new parts, for new custom parts, and first our team designed that, and then our engineering design team, they went through it, made sure, okay, we have everything we need, and then that gets sent to our coach, and our coach discusses with them, why do you need this? What is it gonna do with the robot? And with that, make sure we're being very cost efficient with it. So I wanted to ask a question, especially with with structure. So I know a lot of teams this year, when it comes to taking in the cones, they're either going for like a claw or sort of like sweeping it in with like two wheels. When it comes to choosing like a design, how do you guys go around with that?
Marcin, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I guess I can
Okay.
talk about this. In general, I mean, we do have, like, at the beginning of the year, right after the game's release, we get a call. Like Brian said, basically, in general, every team joins their own team calls, and we just discuss all the ideas that come through, all the ideas get put in somewhere, and then we try to organize and collaborate and try to think of a way that would work for this year's game. In general, we try to base off like like how well things worked in the past, and like we try to base inspiration off other teams, off our past robots, and see what worked and what didn't, and then sort of use that base of knowledge to move on.
And then another thing I know that we do for our team is that each subsystem goes through a strict strengths and weaknesses test, so that we get the best design possible. And usually, the best design is not the most complex design, because I know from previous experience that the part that moves the least usually gets the stuff done the fastest, and that's basically just that comes down to basically just complexity. And not only does complexity usually take a lot of tuning, which we might not have that much opportunity to tune in a season, but also complexity is like subject to tons of errors and tons of faults. So usually we like to kind of stay away from the more complex stuff initially, and then go for something more simple and more streamlined. And then once we find success in that, we'll fine tune it and make it more complex as the season actually progresses, so that we can really spend time on the specific changes that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to ask a question, especially throughout the season. I know what our team does after each league meet, or after we run the robot, we see this problem, and we are seeing it as like a long-term thing. Like last year, we made a change from a five-stage linear slide to a very simple one-stage slide, which is a very drastic change. So when it comes to these major changes, especially in the robot, what do you guys plan on doing? Like, is it something that you guys decide ahead, or like with timing? Like, let's just say you want to make a change before League Champs, and League Champs is like 3-4 weeks away. Do you guys plan on making those changes, or do you guys try and find another solution that's much simpler?
So I know what the club has had success from in the past is that because we have such an inventory of parts, usually we can achieve the design that we say, like the more complex design, as you were saying. We can totally build that out of parts in the club. So what we do is, because most of the robots are modular, we take off the subsystem that we want to change. We totally take it off. We put it somewhere to the side. So just in case the complex one doesn't work in time for league champs and we don't actually get it ready, we're able to put back the more simple one, and kind of replace it back to its original form, just so we don't lose, and we don't go in there basically kind of hopeless because the robot doesn't work because we tried to overestimate our ability and our time.
Yeah, we try to stop teams from, changing or drastically changing the robot like 1 week out from a competition, because it's just not worth it, and you're going to show up with a broken robot that won't be able to function. So we haven't had too much of a problem in the past, but because just we really enforce that, and it's not seen as wise in the club. Um, yeah, but I mean, definitely, like, if we're a month away from the competition, definitely people are going to be making changes to their robots. If there's a huge problem and they need to make a drastic change, they people dedicate time to it, and because we understand, this is really important, and we have a feeling we can win. We just need to, really change this idea on the robot, and because we know now we've adapted from the last competition, we know what we need to fix, and we have ideas of how to fix it. So, 3 or 4 weeks out, sure, but like the week of competition, it's not really seen that much. It's more of just, practicing it ready, try your best.
So do you guys like establish like deadlines like in the beginning of the season, like right when like the kickoff like starts? You guys like put like a deadline. Oh, we're gonna like finish the robot this day. Have the programmer start this day. Because I know like last year, like our previous years, we had like a really big we had like trouble. Like we'd give like the programmer the robot like 1 week before, and I think that was like our big thing. So this year we're really like strict on like, oh, we're gonna finish like 2 weeks before, and then like do it like that.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Try to enforce deadlines. We had some trouble with that last year. Programmers were trying to program, but builders need more time. So deadlines are important. Everybody needs time to work on the robot, and you can't have a builder building on it and a program trying to test autonomous at the same time. It does not work. So I would try to enforce those deadlines, but give room for leeway, because sometimes things spill over. Sometimes people get busy with school, get busy with family. So deadlines are, yeah, definitely a great idea, but keep in mind that not everyone's going to be able to keep track, or keep on the schedule, and you're going to have to move some things around sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Before we have to start closing up, the last question I want to ask you guys would be mentors. How do you find your mentors, and how do you use them? Because I feel like a lot of teams like have mentors but don't know how to use them.
Well,
Yeah. Okay, you
I-
can go.
yeah, okay. So what our mentors look like right now is, we have a big one, Mr. Olson, and he actually joined the club because of his son, Ryan, who participated in robotics. He went through our club all 4 years, and he loved it. Mr. Olson loved it. So, Mr. Olson, he now is dedicated to our club and dedicated to helping future generations. We're very thankful for that. And we also get, students, they bring along their parents. Their members bring along their parents right now. So we have one member, Taylor Culbertson. Her parents are there every time. The Culbertsons, they're some of our mentors. We're very thankful for them. So we get a lot of that, students bringing along their parents, and we also have a new mentor, Mr. Heitman. He actually he did FRC up in Michigan, and he moved here to Florida, and he found, we do a ton of outreach, the club ourselves, and he found us online, and he came to our club. He wanted to see what we do. He wanted to see what we're about, and now he's helping us a lot with programming. He's helping us teach a class, and we're really thankful for that. So definitely, if you have members in your club, with interested parents, get parents involved. That's an important part. We're gonna have like a parent meeting night in a couple weeks, just to try and show parents what is your child doing here for 3 hours, Wednesdays and Fridays. Why do they spend so much time on this? We let them tour the robots, demo the robots, and also outreach. Outreach into your community. You might find some people. You might find some retired engineers who they have nothing to do, and they really enjoy a robot. They really enjoy the creativity that you bring to this game, and they want to help out. So, community and parents, great resources, honestly.
Right.
And then also we have another mentor, Mr. Dan.
Mr. Dan.
Mr. Dan, he's like the Grand Master of FTC in our community. He started like I'm pretty sure upwards of like 10 teams, and kind of introduced them to FTC. So he's also a really, really, really big help. And then you also mentioned how do we utilize our mentors? So a lot of our mentors do come from like engineering backgrounds, so they are able. And so we have one mentor who has a software background, and then we have three or four that have engineering, like mechanical backgrounds. So they're able to assist us both at the club and outside the club, and that's definitely a key, outside the club. So Mr. Olson, he's kind enough to allow us to use his workshop at his house. So that's really important to our teams, because we are a club. We only have 2, maybe 3 days a week for usually it's 3 to 5 hours, depending on if competitions are coming up or not. So we are limited, but because we do have such a great mentor as Mr. Olson, we are allowed the freedom to kind of almost go to his house whenever we want and work on parts. And he's like kind enough to set up a field at his house and stuff for us. So that's really important.
One thing to stress about mentors and using mentors in general is they do not design anything. They're not there to design your robot for you. They're not there to show you how to do something. It's just you're asking them about advice. You're asking them if they were to do this, maybe give some hints and how you can use your ideas to solve the problem better. But in general, we stray away from them actually designing anything themselves. They're just there for assistance.
And then a philosophy that all of our mentors have is that they basically allow us to make mistakes up until complete disaster. So if there's like a mistake that they foresee, they're not going to tell us unless it leads to like the total breakage of our robot. So say like our control hub gets absolutely destroyed, then they'll be like, okay, you probably want to reconsider something else. But other than that, they focus on like letting us make mistakes, because they do realize that that's like an important part of the process.
And it's not really just we have adults that are mentors. We have students themselves that are mentors, senior members. We do a lot of mentoring in between teams. So, for example, when I was a sophomore, I got a lot of help or mentorship from a boss and Miles, who were seniors at the time in our club. They really helped us out a lot. And, I'm trying to do that now this year. I'm trying to pass down knowledge, help out people who are interested in programming, and all the senior members know, you need to help out the younger members. If they have questions, you need to be there. You need to answer questions. So it's really just a lot of passing down knowledge, and that kind of goes back to what we were saying at the start. It's kind of what keeps us the club alive. It's what keeps us, pretty successful. Is that we pass down knowledge. We keep it within the club, and we don't rely on mentors to like guide us all the way. We try to be. They're just there to, like Ryan said, prevent us from complete disaster.
Yeah, I would say obviously mentors, they are there to help you, but they're not there to make it for you. Like one of our mentors, Mr. Prasad, he emphasizes the point of, okay, what are you guys doing? How are you gonna do it? And he makes sure we have a plan before we go into something, and we're not improvising along the way. And then before we end off, I just had one more question. So you guys are saying like you, especially when it comes close to league meets and also throughout the season, you guys try not to make too many drastic changes. So do you guys try and build off like your initial design, or do you guys like when a sudden change has to be made, like you make it? Like I know some teams, they have a long-term plan for their robot, and they're like, okay, by this day we'll make this, we'll change to our robot, and it's not going to be a drastic change.
Yeah, so I think a lot of that depends on the season. So, say like a season like Relic Recovery and the whole like dump truck stat or strat. So say like if there's like a huge if there's like a huge meta one season and we don't have the meta but we want to be a good team, then of course we'd say, okay, I think the risk is worth it to make such a drastic change, because the probability of us getting to states is so high with a meta that would be that good. But most of the seasons there's not such a thing, and we do try to avoid the drastic changes, and instead we do like build off of our initial subsystems instead of kind of scrapping it all and going scratch.
That kind of happened last year with the whole. We went to the first meet and then boom, ducks are worth 10 ducks, 6 points each, and that's 60 points in endgame. So we definitely, or as 3101, we definitely focus more on duck wheels. I mean, Marcin, we got a continuous servo and put a wheel on top so we could do ducks during endgame, and I guess that's a little bit of switching a strat. It wasn't a drastic change to the robot, but it was more of we had to dedicate a little bit of time towards this new duck strat, doing that during endgame because it was very important last year. It was a lot of points, so that's one thing you sometimes have to adapt. After meet 1 or meet 2.
Yeah. We have a little bit left, so before we end off, is there anything you guys would like to add, or any final questions for you and our team?
You might be just about to say the same thing, Ryan. But what we're doing right now is, as a club, PHHS Robotics, we're looking for, and Mr. Dan, if you're in Gulf Coast League, you know Mr. Dan, and Mr. Dan's been talking about this a lot. We're looking for like younger teams to come to our school, and if you live in Pinellas County, if you have a team in Pinellas County or a bit south, we're looking to hold like classes at our school. So I just wanted to kind of advertise and put that out there, and we'll be putting that on Florida FTC Discord, and we're gonna be posting some tutorial videos just like what we do during the club, because that's one thing we're trying to emphasize a lot this year is outreach to we do a lot of teaching within the club, and now we want to kind of spread that teaching outwards into our community, because nobody likes it when you go to a meet and you see one team with a robot that's not built right. Of course you're going to help them during the meet, but it's not going to be enough time for them to get a fully working robot. So we kind of want to attack that problem before the meet. So that's what we're doing. I know I helped a little bit with Osceola High School last year before league championships, trying to get their robot up and running. So that's what we kind of want to do this year. We want to teach about building, teach about programming, so teams are fully prepared for the meet and we can really have a fun and engaging competition. It makes it better for everyone, honestly.
Yeah, no. If we find any teams, we'll definitely let you guys know in that area. But I don't know if you guys are already doing YouTube videos too or anything.
We haven't started yet. We got a little sidetracked with the hurricane, definitely. But we're back on the grind. We're hopefully going to post some videos soon. I know Ryan's thinking about CAD videos. Marcin probably is thinking about building videos. I'm definitely have some programming topics in mind. So we'll have some stuff soon, and we'll post it in Florida FTC Discord, for everyone to see.
That sounds great.
Is that what you were going to say, Ryan?
Or? I was going to ask a question. I was going to ask you guys, how do you guys maintain resources? Every season, do you guys buy a completely new robot, or do you kind of piggyback off of other seasons?
Yeah, so this year we pretty much took apart the old robot, like the Viper slides we had from last year. We just put that back onto this one. Our CAD lead has actually completely redesigned the actual drivetrain. So he sent those out for send to print back and get back to us. So usually we don't buy completely new parts unless we really need new channels or something. But we already have a shelf full of channels, motors, servos. So there's really no need for us.
Yeah, so kind of like what you guys do. We look at what we have. We have an inventory of stuff. So, and then when our builders, when they CAD and everything, they see what parts do they actually need, and then they look at the inventory and they see, oh, what extra stuff we need, and then like we go from there. So we're not like spending too much on like new parts and everything.
Gotcha.
I was also I have a question too. I'm just curious. How do you guys do meetings, right? Do you meet once a week? Do
Right.
you meet twice a week? How many hours, and like how many people do you have on your team? Do you have a resource outside of school, stuff like that? Just a little
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
meet 3 days a week, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. We usually try and make like all meetings mandatory for like every single team member to come. So Wednesdays are 3 hours, Fridays are 3 hours, and whenever like it's competition like time, we usually stay pretty late on Fridays and Sundays because we can't stop.
And especially when it comes closer to league meet, as you're saying, we make it a priority for obviously for driver practice, especially because that was one of our weaknesses last year. We didn't have enough driver practice. We had a good robot, but our drivers didn't know how to drive it. So when it comes closer, we try to make sure that our drivers, if they can even stay like half an hour after the meeting or like come a little before, just to drive the robot, or even when it comes closer to time to submit the portfolio, we make sure that we are getting our deadlines in, even if we have to stay a little bit after. Obviously, we don't make it mandatory, but the more times you can do that, the easier and more efficiently our team can run.
And
So we're also like a community based team, so we don't go to a certain school. We're like all from different schools. So we have like 11 kids this year. We have 3 in middle school, and the rest are in high school.
Mhm.
So I know Moho goes to Trinity Prep, and then all of us go to like Seminole High School, and then Sanford Middle School. And so we meet at our coach's patio. She has a patio outside, so we have like a field set up, tables, and that's where we meet every day.
Interesting. Well, do you guys have like a spot to do workshop stuff, or where do you keep tools and all that?
Yeah, it's a pretty big patio, so we have like everything out there: the toolbox, the drill press. Yeah.
It's like we try to keep everything mostly. We have like shelves, so like everything's just into shelves.
Yeah, and what we try to do, especially in our patio, is we try to organize things by categories. Like we have all of our wiring, all our cameras in one section. We have all our screws. We have all our active robotic stuff in one area, and then we have our soldering. Our soldering, our drill press, all our drills together. So when it comes time, we can easily find it. And like when it comes normally when we're dealing with more like high powered tools, we have a couple mentors, like a couple parents that do come in and teach us how to do it properly, so we're out of harm's way. But yeah.
And I was curious, when you guys, when you look for new members every year, how do you guys kind of do your outreach if it's, community-based robotics club?
Yeah, so what we try and prioritize is especially, not, or a majority of us, we try and like put it out there like, hey, because each year we get very positive feedback on people trying to join our team, and we look at that. And additionally, whenever we go to an outreach event, what we try and do is we try to market ourselves in a way that we're reaching a younger demographic in order to ensure the sustainability of our team. Like I know this year we're gonna go to Maker Faire and Otronicon, just because, obviously it's outreach, but it helps us reach a younger crowd of kids, and also because you're reaching a much larger group who are interested in STEM.
We also do like a Z.I.P camp in the summer, so that's like 9 to like 12-year-olds. So like we also, if they want to join like an FTC team like sometime, they can always like contact us like later on, and that's how we also get some new members. And like when we get younger members, like our 8th grader, we have 3 8th graders, so like they know like younger kids and kids in their grade, so like it's like passing like the word out to like kids younger than us in a way.
Do you guys do you have a lot of siblings on the team? We get that a lot in robotics.
We actually only have 1 pair of siblings, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think our first year we did have we did have a pair of siblings, but we try and expand because we try and have as many team members as we can. And something that we do prioritize is what we try and do is we try to make sure that everyone is enjoying what they're doing and that we're not forcing them into it. Like I know some years like some kids change what they want to do and because they weren't feeling as comfortable in it, and we're open to that because ensuring that kids in our team are doing what they love, it lets our team run more smoothly.
So we don't have like a lot of siblings on our teams, but when we first started, like our first year, it was like mainly like, oh, like we all knew each other, like the first like 5 members, like we were all like family friends in a way. So like in the community, so we had that.
Yeah, I think like Sanat or like the coach's son, he sat next to me on the bus, and when we first started FLL, he's like, "Hey, I'm starting this FLL team. Do you want to join?" I was like, "What?" So yeah, that's how like we're more than just a team. We're really a family, a really big family, and what we love to do is we even if we're getting our work done, we love to joke around, and that's what just helps our relationship become even stronger.
That's actually how we started. We started as an FLL team for like the first, I think, 2 years. Was
3.
it?
Is that
3 years.
elementary school?
Yeah.
It was yeah.
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 Okay, so I think it's a little past 7. So thank you guys so much for your time. We really did have a fun time talking to you guys, especially about engineering design, outreach, and business. Um, I hope you guys felt the same, and feel free to contact us in the future. And we hope to meeting you guys again soon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really enjoy this
Thank you.
opportunity to talk to people. We try to do that